Hello everyone, welcome to Sri Chaitanya IIT Academy. My name is Shailesh Gupta and I am going to discuss chemistry portion of JEE Advanced Paper 2020 Paper 1. So let's start the first question. So what it says that if the distribution of the molecular speed of the gas is as per the figure shown below, then the ratio of the most probable and the average and the root mean square speeds respectively is. Now how to decide the ratio? First look at the graph very carefully because they are asking directly with respect to this graph. Because what mistake you may generally do, that you may directly calculate as you know for the ideal gas Vrms is equal to root over 3 RT upon M. Vmp most probable speed is equal to root over 2 RT by M, and average speed as you get from the kinetic theory of gas root over 8 RT upon pi M. If you are going to use this formula, then you are going to get certainly the wrong answer. Why? Because the graph for the ideal gas is not like this. It is not symmetrical as you are getting in this case. Look at this, left side and right side we are having different thing. Now how to then calculate with the help of this graph? So let's now let's solve it. So this is this particular speed is our most probable speed Vmp, right? So because it is possessed by the maximum number of molecules, so this particular speed V is Vmp. So if I'll say that Vmp most probable speed is V, now let us see how the average speed is defined. How do we define average speed? Average speed is defined as, suppose there are many molecule, then average speed is defined as V1 plus V2 plus V3 plus whatever the number of molecules are there, whole divided by the number of molecules. Now if you look at the symmetry, the average of, if you take this speed, if you go at a distance here, equidistance from this middle point to the right and to the left, you will figure out the same value. If you take the average of these two, the average of these two will come to the same point only. So no matter how many molecules you are having, if you are going to use the speed and if you are going to take the average of the whole, it will again give you the same value as it was having earlier for the most probable speed. So most probable speed and the average speed both will be V only. You can understand this by taking some values also. So let us consider that we are having only 3 particles, right? So if we are having 3 particles, if we are having say for example 3 particle only, so if the first particle is having speed this, the second one, the one which is I am taking as most probable speed as V, and this one which is equidistant from here is some V3. This was V1, this was V, and this was V3. So clearly V1, if V1 will be, because see these 2 points are equidistant from here, if V1 will be simply V minus X, then V3 will be how much? V plus X, and if you take the average of these 3 speed, that means V1 plus V plus V3 and whole divided by 3, let us calculate this, that will be V minus X plus V plus X and whole divided by 3. Now use it, so this X and X will be cancelled out, this will be simply 3V by 3 and 3 will be cancelled out, you will get V. That is what I was trying to tell you, that if the graph is symmetrical, the value of the average speed and the most probable speed. What is most probable speed? Speed possessed by majority of the molecule, means for which the fraction of the molecule is maximum, that means this speed. So both will be equal. That was the key point. Now when it comes to, right, now when it comes to root mean square speed, will it also be same as that? Answer is no, because in this particular case, you know, the root mean square speed means what? First you are going to square whatever the speed that you have, take the square of that. Just a minute. So whatever the speed that you have, just take the square of that. And dot 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 as many particles that we have. Now thereafter you have to take the mean, that means V1 square plus V2 square, the mean of square speed, right? So V3 square plus V4 square plus dot dot dot, and whole divided by n. This is the mean of that. Now what you have to take? You have to take the root of this value. So this particular quantity is going to give V RMS. Now will it be same? So obviously answer is no, because when you are going to add the square of this value, it will never be same as V, and it will never be same as average speed. So the first two quantity will be same and the third one will not be same. If you go and if you will try to check that, you just go through the checking. See here 1:1:1, and if you look at here, this is 1:1 and thereafter it is 1.224. Look at these, 1:1.128, obviously not correct. Here also, so the correct answer will be only B, where the average speed and the most probable speed are equal. I hope you understood this. So let's go to the question number 2. Now this is pretty easy, because if you look at this, it is asking about which of the following liberates oxygen on hydrolysis. Now out of the given oxide that we have here, which will liberate oxygen gas? So let's talk about one by one. Let's talk about lead oxide. First of all, oxides of alkali metal and alkaline earth metal. The oxide of these metals are only soluble, my dear, because alkaline earth metal also there is one oxide which is insoluble, beryllium oxide, which is insoluble. At the same time, magnesium oxide is also sparingly soluble in water. Now this is lead oxide. In metal oxide, apart from these, you will get rarely any solubility. So this will not be soluble at all in water. So if you will try to dissolve in water, it will not be soluble. So this option is anyway rejected. Now coming to this KO2, this is superoxide. Why I am writing superoxide? Because if you look at the oxidation state of potassium, that is +1, and that of O2 is -1 actually. So what will happen to this? When KO2 is dissolved in water, it produces hydroxide, it produces H2O2, and at the same time it produces oxygen gas. So that was our actual point also, because it was asking about which one will liberate O2, and this was single choice anyway. So the correct answer will be B only. But if you want to know about C and D, then also you can look into it, because this is peroxide, Na2O2. So what will happen if you will take water here and hydrolyze it? You are going to get H2O2, plus of course you are going to get NaOH. So you will not get oxygen as you will get in case of superoxide. So the correct answer for this question will be B only. So let's move to the question number 3 now. Now this is related to the qualitative analysis, and if you read this question, a colorless aqueous solution contains nitrate, very important, because nitrate of every single metal is soluble. Whether it is silver nitrate, whether it is mercury nitrate, whether it is cuprous or cupric nitrate, any of the nitrate, all are soluble into water. But what it is saying, when it was added to an aqueous solution of NaCl, that means now after the nitrates of X, we do not know what is the state of that, and Y, they are nitrates, right? I am assuming that plus N and plus M here, and of course nitrate ion, these are there in the solution. And when NaCl is added, that means when you are providing Cl minus, what it is forming a precipitate. White precipitate was formed. Now here you need to understand, in the whole metal ion cation analysis, there are only 3 and 3 metal ion only which are going to form the precipitate, right? And who are those 3? That is silver ion, lead plus 2 and mercurous, Hg2 plus 2. These 3 ions only forms precipitate. Yes, apart from them there is one more also, that is copper plus 1, but we do not study about the properties of the copper plus 1 in qualitative analysis. So here only these 3 cations are there. So if Cl minus you are adding, then there is a possibility that X and Y may be silver, lead and mercury. Out of these 3, any 2 will be. Now let us look at the other portion, what it is saying. This precipitate was found to be partly soluble in hot water. Now it is very, very clear. Guys, please understand this, that out of AgCl, PbCl2 and Hg2Cl2, this is the only component which gets dissolved when you heat the aqueous solution of that, it will become soluble. So the moment they mention that it is partly soluble in water, it means that one of the cation is what? Lead. Okay. So one is confirmed that one will be definitely lead. Now let us read the other part. Now whatever the residue that was left, means in the residue when it will be soluble, then definitely what you are going to get, the residue portion means the precipitate one, that may have either of this, either AgCl or Hg2Cl2. Now what they are using, the residue was soluble in aqueous ammonia. Now it is very, very clear, because AgCl is the one which dissolves in ammonia and forms complex. It forms Ag, NH3 whole twice plus and Cl minus. This is soluble. Now whereas this mercury portion, that means Hg2Cl2, when that is taken with ammonia, aqueous solution of ammonia, that undergoes disproportionation and forms mercury and HgNH2Cl, and the whole combination, this is actually a white precipitate, this is dark grey, which appears as beautiful black. Collectively, beautiful black, it appears like that. So because they have written that it is soluble in excess of ammonia and at the same time excess of thiosulfate, this must be silver. From this information only, everything is clear that this solution have silver and lead. So the correct answer will be A only, right? So let's move to the next question now. So guys, now let's look at the question number 4. Now it have given basically the Newman projection of P, Q, R and S. There are 4 molecules. This is P, this is Q, this is R and this is S. Now they have given the structure of these 4 molecules and they are asking that which one of the following option represents the identical molecule, very, very important, right? Out of the given, which of them are identical? So now whenever it is given in Newman, I would like to tell you that just open it into the normal structure first. So if you are aware with this, that in Newman projection, this particular dot, that means the one which is shown here at the middle, that carbon is actually the front carbon, and the one which is written with a circle, that means this big circle, this one, that represents the rear carbon. Now if I have to draw the structure of the P, then how it will look like? The structure of P, how it will look like? I am going to write the front carbon, I will write as C, this I am writing about P, and it is attached with 3 CH3 group, sorry, one is CH3, other is C2H5, another is CH3. So CH3, another is also CH3, another is 2 carbon containing, that means ET. Basically CH2 CH3 if you want to open it completely. And coming to the rear carbon, which I am writing here, that is having CH3, just a minute, yeah, so that is having this CH3 rear carbon, CH3, and the third one is OH. So this is having one CH3, another CH3, and one OH. This is the open chain structure of the P, right? Now let's look at the Q, how it will look like. Again, front carbon is having a little bulkier thing, one carbon, one is hydrogen, other is ethyl group, CH2 CH3, other is having right. So the other third group which is attached with this is having one carbon with CH3 with OH, and the another one is CH3. Now when it comes to rear carbon, what it have? The rear one is having, you can look into it, hydrogen, CH3, and the hydrogen. So 2 hydrogen and 1 CH3. So this is Q. Now let's open R in open chain. So how it will be? The front carbon, as you can see here, it is having CH3, CH3 and OH, 2 CH3 and 1 OH. And the rear one is having 1 hydrogen and 2 ethyl groups. That means CH2 CH3 and CH2 CH3. I hope you are getting till here. Now coming to this one, S. The last structure is, front one is having 1 CH3 with 2 hydrogen, and the rear one is having 1 OH, 1 C2H5, 1 OH, 1 C2H5, that means CH2CH3, right, 1 OH, 1 C2H5, and the third one is isopropyl group, which is CH, and then there is a branching CH3 and CH3, right. So this is S. Now you compare. Now you just look at the structure, which among them appears to be identical. So let us look, do we have any structure which is similar to P? So how to look into it? So we are having OH, at the same OH we are having 2 CH3. Let's look at. On the same OH we are having 2 CH3, so we got here also. Thereafter on the very next carbon we are having 2 CH3. So on the very next carbon we are having ET, not 2 CH3, one is hydrogen. That means P and Q are not identical. Let's look at Q and other thing. So here we are having 1 carbon OH and then 2 CH3, 1 carbon, 2 CH3 on the same carbon and 1 OH. Okay, till here it is matching. On the very next carbon we are having ET, on the very next carbon we are having ET. Okay, so on the very next we are having ET, and then we are having hydrogen also, and then we are having basically CH2 CH3. So this is, my dear, CH2 CH3. So can you say this? R and Q is identical. Once again, if you want, you can look into it. How I am matching? I am looking at OH first. Okay, I'll just rub it and I'll show you again. right? Let's look at once again. So the carbon with which OH is attached, I am picking this carbon. That carbon is having 2 CH3 group here also and here also, right? And thereafter on the very next carbon we are having one H and ET, and another is also ET, means 2 ET group and 1 hydrogen. Just look at here, this another carbon is having 1 hydrogen and 1 ET, and another, this whole thing is basically ET, CH2 CH3. So obviously the structure R and the structure Q are identical. R and Q, these two are identical. So what are the options? We have to just pick one. Just let's directly check whether RQ is given anywhere. So yes, Q and R is given. So because it was single choice, I will not waste my time to look at the other option. So the correct answer will be C, which is having Q and R. Alright. So let's move to the next question. So yes, what it says, which one of the following structures has the IUPAC name? So this is the IUPAC name given to you. So what is written here? 3-ethinyl, 2-hydroxy, 4-methyl, and then this is the main core part, is hex 3-ene 5-inoic acid. Now why I am saying core part? Because this is basically parent chain. So you are supposed to start from the parent chain. So how many carbon do we have? We have 6 carbon. So I will write directly 3, 4, 5 and 6. So I will just number them also, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now what we are supposed to do thereafter, let us attach at different carbon whatever the group that they have said. So 3-ethinyl. So at number 3 we are having C triple bond C H. So this is ethinyl group. And then at number 2 we are having hydroxy. At number 2 we are having OH also. And then at number 4 we are having methyl. At number 4 we are having methyl. And then at 3 we are having ene, means double bond. So number 1, 2 and 3, 3 means. So we are having this one, at 3 we are having double bond. And then 5-inoic acid, at number 5 once again we are having a triple bond, right? And oic acid, as you can see very clearly that it is having a carboxylic acid. Whenever oic acid comes, whenever carboxylic acid contains the name oic acid, by default it is at number 1. So at this particular carbon we will be having double bond O and OH. So this completes the structure which is written here. Whatever the IUPAC is written here, that is the corresponding structure. Now you match it simply. So with respect to COH, at number 2 we should get OH, at number 3 we should get this group, at number 4 we should get CH3, and PC should have 6 carbons. So let's match, let's look into it. So if you look at the first structure, then at number 2 we are having OH, at number 3 we are having ethyl, which was not required, so this is wrong. Now if you look at this structure, at number 1 we are having COH, and 2 we are having OH, and 3 we are having C triple bond C. At 4 we need CH3, but it is not there, so this is also wrong. Now let's look at this structure. At again number 1, at number 2 we are having OH, at number 3 we are having CH3, which is not there, so that means this is also wrong. So by default the correct answer will be 4th, but let's verify it. Number 1 and 2 we are having OH, at 3 we are having C triple bond C, at number 4 we are having methyl, and then of course after 4 this is 5 and 6, so having 6 carbon in the PC. So that satisfies all the needs, so this will be the correct answer for this. So now let's look at the other question. Now this is a little bit lengthy, I would say, because you have to figure out the RS configuration in each cases, right? So I'll use a certain method. and I'll use little bit of shortcut also, so you need to listen it very carefully. So they are asking about this molecule, that the Fischer projection of D-erythrose is shown below. So this is erythrose, a carbohydrate having 4 carbon, aldose basically. So the structure is given here. Now they have given the different form which have this same formula, but the stereochemistry at this particular carbon may or may not be same. Right, look at this one, then look at this one, look at this one, and now they are asking with respect to this what relation they possess. That means P, whether it is a distereomer with the original molecule, whether it is a identical isomer, whether it is enantiomer. That's what they are trying to ask. So how to calculate and how to look into it? So there is one very standard method by which we will solve it, by figuring out the RS configuration of the true molecule and then again the RS configuration in each case. Now suppose if the configuration which we got here and the configuration which we got here by numbering wise are matching, means if it is RR then also we are getting RR, which means what? They are identical. If they are RR and we are getting RS, one is same but other is changing, this will be a distereomer. If suppose I am getting like this, the first one original compound is RR but the other compound we are getting SS, both of them are changing, this will tell us that it is enantiomer, mirror image of it, right? And suppose if the first one is also RR, that means the original compound, and the compound given here is also RR, which means that they are having the identical arrangement, means they are not different molecule, they are same. This is the basic concept that we have to use here. So let's start. So now let us calculate the RS configuration here. So first of all we have to draw the equivalent flying wedge. To get the original configuration we have to draw the original flying wedge. So original flying wedge representation means these two, the horizontal one is basically coming out of the plane, this is OH, this is H, again this is OH and this is H, and this one, the one which is on the vertical line is basically inside the plane, CH2OH, and at the top also it is going inside the plane. Now suppose I want to get the configuration at this center. Now how to get it? First you have to number them as per CIP rule. What will be the number? So this is directly attached atom oxygen, here carbon, so it will get the highest priority 1. And look at this carbon, it is attached with double bond O, and the another carbon here is also attached with oxygen, single bond OH, so which will have senior priority. So C double bond O is senior as compared to when you are having one OH and other carbon. So this will, because if you break this and duplicate this by CIP rule, it will be OC and it will be O. That's how it is duplicated. So you can see equivalent 2 oxygen is there at this carbon. So it will be numbered as 2. Then obviously this will be number 3, and this will be for sure as number 4. Now what is the rule, how we used to look at the RS configuration? The priority, 4th priority group, we have to look at the molecule from the opposite side of this 4th priority. It is outside of the plane, we are supposed to go inside the plane, and then we have to look at the RS configuration. So whatever the order of 1, 2, 3 will be there, suppose if it is clockwise, from where we have to see exactly opposite of the 4th priority. So it is above the plane, so we have to look at from inside the plane. But is it possible to go inside the plane? It is quite difficult also. So one good way of answering that is you stay outside of the plane, you whatever the observation that you are watching, you mark that and you just tell the reverse answer. Why? Because suppose if here is a plane, whatever I am doing from this side, from my side it is actually I am doing R, but if you will be looking, it will be appearing to be S, means I am doing clockwise, but for you it will be anti-clockwise. I will show you, just look at this, isn't it? This is R from my side, but when it is turning to your side it will appear as S. So it is better to answer by whatever the answer that we are getting from outside, we need to just reverse it. So what will be the order? 1, 2, 3. It is going into clockwise or anti-clockwise sense? It is anti-clockwise sense. So what will be the correct configuration here? Not S, rather it will be R. So similarly you need to tackle at this center also. I will show you how. So let us number once again. So already we have got the configuration about this carbon topmost, we have already got that. Now coming to the next carbon. So let us do numbering once again. This will be 1. Here the carbon is attached with one oxygen, whereas the other carbon is attached with oxygen, at the same time another carbon also. So it will get better priority, means 1 will be this, number 2 will be this carbon, and number 3 will be this, and at the last once again we got the 4th. Once again go for 1, 2, 3 and reverse your answer, because it is above the plane. This side is, so horizontal line means above the plane. So I will show you here again 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, you can see here 1, 2, 3 means it is going anti-clockwise, but we have to answer from inside the plane, so it will not be correct, rather it will be clockwise, so it will be R. So both the configuration what we have received here is R and R. Now similarly we are supposed to check the configuration in each case. Now let us consider this case where we have to figure out. Now one thing you need to understand, that first of all verify whether the molecular formula is same or not. If the molecular formula is same, then only we are supposed to tell about all of these, otherwise that will not be isomer at all. So if you watch them carefully, you will find that the molecular formula is same. Now let us talk about the configuration part. Now again do it numbering over here. This is 1, sorry, this will not be 1, 1 will be OH. This will be number 2, this will be number 3, and the 4th one this time luckily is inside the plane. So we are supposed to observe from the outside the plane, and that will be our answer. So 1, 2, 3, how it is looking like? R. So at here we got R. Now similarly calculate over here. So if you will calculate there, just a minute, I will first rub that. Now this one I calculated as R. Now let us look at this. Now this carbon is directly attached with oxygen, highest atomic number, number 1. Then carbon and OH, then carbon and OH, and again carbon, so number 2. This will be number 3. This time 4th priority, the 4th priority member is outside of the plane. So we are supposed to answer whatever we are getting from outside, just we need to reverse it. So here 1, 2, 3 we are getting an anti-clockwise sense. So we have to answer just opposite of that, so it will be again R, means clockwise. So we have got this, that this is R and this is R. This is R and this is R. That means for P it is identical, it will be 2. Now similarly calculate for the other. Now we have taken enough effort over here, now I will utilize this information for the remaining molecule. How I will use that? Just look at this, at this carbon CHO at the same position, OH and H are interchanged, which means that the configuration is reversed at here. If you want, you can calculate it, you will get S. I am telling you, this is the final thing. Now let us look at here what has happened. So this OH which was here, which was inside, if any confusion is there, you simply number them and you calculate the RS configuration. Say for example, if I am doing like this, it's number 1, then this will be number 2, this will be number 3, and this is 4th one is luckily inside. So 1, 2, 3 means what? It is simply R. So at this carbon we are getting R only. same configuration, same configuration. So means at first case we got S, and other case we got R. Now here it was R and R, and here R and R, that's why it was identical. Here one is S and other is R, one changed but other remains same, that means it is generating a diastereomer. So for Q it will be 1. Now if you look at the other case, once again just monitor over here. Is it similar to the first one? So CHO, H is inside, OH is outside. Yes, it is exactly similar, that means it is R. Now how do you think that this is? In this case OH is down, just monitor this one. I'll show you. Just look at this. The OH is inside, hydrogen is outside. OH here is outside, whereas hydrogen is inside. And CH2OH is as it is. What does it mean? The configuration is changed as compared to here. So here we are, earlier we got R, that means it will be S. So it is RS. You look at this very carefully. This is RS. That means this is also diastereomeric pair, means R is also diastereomeric pair. Now coming to the last case, this one. Look at the configuration once again with respect to the first. CHO same place, and H is outside, this side inside, here outside, that means they have changed, it is S. Now let us look at the configuration about this. If you remember, here it was R only. Now just look at the configuration. OH same side, hydrogen inside, so here hydrogen outside, that means they have changed. So this was R, then this must be S. So means both are SS. Original molecule was R and R, and here both are S and S, which means that it is enantiomer. That means the S1 will be what? Enantiomer means third one. So the correct combination will be P2, Q1, R1 and S3, 2113. 2113, we got this one. We got C as the correct answer. Alright, so let's move to the next question now. So now let's look at question number 7. So in thermodynamics, the PV work done is given by W is equal to P external into dV, right? P external into dV, the integral of that. This is the standard form of the work, PV work. And now for a system undergoing a particular process, the work done is given by this formula. Now by looking at this A and B, you should immediately think that this corresponds to real gas. So what is van der Waals equation for the real gas? That was P plus, for 1 mole of gas it was V molar square, V minus B, and that is equal to what? RT. So from here if you will calculate about P, you will get simply RT by V minus B and minus A by V square. This will be the expression of P. Now if you will substitute this one over here, you will get exactly the same expression, which means that this they are talking about the real gas. Now this equation is applicable to, so system that satisfied van der Waals equation of the state, correct. Now process that is reversible, of course it has to be reversible, otherwise pressure will not be defined. Right. So it should be reversible, at the same time isothermal as well, right. Now let's move to the next one, process that is reversible and adiabatic. Yes, you can use for that also. See, if it is isothermal, then also we can use this expression. If it is not isothermal, then also we can use, because there is no clarity over here that temperature is constant, right? We can take that, we can use this formula even for the isothermal change. Now, we can obviously use for the reversible and adiabatic process, there is no problem as such. But if you talk about the fourth one, the process is irreversible and at constant pressure. Process that is irreversible and at constant pressure. The moment it is irreversible, we cannot use this, because if it will be irreversible, the pressure will not be defined. So, this expression will not be true for this. Okay, so the correct answer will be then A, B and C according to me. Okay, now let us move to the next question. So, now let us look at the question number 8. Now, here are the list of the molecule which is given to you, and they are asking with respect to the compound this, choose the correct statement. Now, the first option says that the acidity of the compound 1 is due to delocalization in the conjugate base. So, why it is acidic? So, if you remove the H plus ion, what you are going to get? You will be getting one carbon bearing negative charge with 3 benzene ring attached to it. So, the third one I will represent with the symbol phi. Now, if you look here, this negative ion can undergo resonance over this ring also, and for the total phi resonance structure, similarly in this ring also and similarly here also. So, the acidity of the compound 1 is due to delocalization in the conjugate base. That seems to be true, because this is a conjugate base and the negative ion which is generated is undergoing resonance also. So, A is correct undoubtedly. Now, let us look at the B. The conjugate base of the fourth is aromatic. So, this one is fourth, let us remove that. So, what is the condition of aromaticity? Any molecule will be aromatic if satisfies 4 things. Number 1, cyclic. Number 2, planar. Number 3, continuous conjugation, means that conjugation should not break, cyclic conjugation should be there. And the fourth one is 4n plus 2, pi electron must be there, delocalized pi electron. Now, if you look at here, it is cyclic undoubtedly, planar yes, continuous conjugation is there, you do resonance, you will get it every time, you will get a cyclic conjugation. And let us look at the pi electron. So, 1 pi bond, 2 pi bond, and this will also be taken as pi electron, because this also undergoes, this is also undergoing into resonance. So, total pi electron here will be having 6. So, 4n plus we have to equate and we have to get whether we are getting any integer or not, 4n plus 2. So, yes, 4n is equal to 4, n is equal to 1. So, it is aromatic. So, B is also correct, because the conjugate base of compound 4 is aromatic. Now, let us look at the option C. Now, let us look at option C. So, till now what we have received? Till now we have received that A is correct, B is correct. Now, let us look at C. Compound 2 becomes more acidic. Compound 2 becomes more acidic when it has NO2 substituent. Compound 2 is this. Now, if you will attach any withdrawing group anywhere, here or anywhere, so obviously its effect here will be minus I, very powerful minus I group is there. So, it will withdraw the electron, it will increase the electronegativity of the carbon, which will make this easier to remove as H plus ion. So, yes, compound 2 becomes more acidic when any withdrawing group, not only NO2, anything is added will be okay. Now, coming to the fourth one. So, the acidity of the compound follows the order 1, 4, 5, means they have given highest will be 1 and the second best will be fourth one, and here there is a mistake, because aromaticity have far more important effect, because it is not only resonance, it is giving extra stability when you are removing the H plus ion, whereas these molecules were already aromatic. Whether you remove this hydrogen or not, it does not make any difference. So, removal of this hydrogen makes it aromatic, and that is a very powerful driving force, and that is why if you remember the value of the Ka is of the order of 10 to the power minus 15 for this one, whereas for this one is much less than 10 to the power minus 30. So this is most acidic among the given. So obviously this is wrong. So correct answer will be then A, B and C. Now let's look at the other question, question number 9. Now it appears to be little bulkier if you observe at first sight, but it is very tricky and very simple also. Now they have given simply the sequence of the reaction and they are talking about the Q and R and S. Now you need to solve it. I will do it little quickly. Now this is AlCl3 and here anhydride is given. So this will basically donate the pair of electron to AlCl3 Lewis acid, and that will break down from either of the side, and what you are going to get, you will be getting basically C triple bond O positive and thereafter 2 carbon, and then the third one will be COO minus and AlCl3. Basically after donating the pair of electron, it will become OCl and Cl will have the negative charge. Now look at this, this carbon is electrophilic now. So this particular carbon will be attacked by this particular ring. Now where should I attack? Now look, this particular position is already too much crowded, we cannot attack by this. And with respect to this, you look at this is orthopara directing. So at this particular carbon, that means at the bottommost one, if you will attack, if you are going to attack over here and electrophilic aromatic substitution if you will do, what you are going to get? You will be getting at this particular position, you will be getting C double bond O and 2 carbon, and then after removal of the H plus ion, that means EAS, you will be getting COOH, carboxylic acid. So basically this is Q, which the structure which I have drawn you here after EAS, electrophilic aromatic substitution. Now what next thing is done? Zinc HgHCl, Clemmensen reduction. So what does it do? It removes, basically it removes double bond O from the 2 carbonyl, that means it will remove from here. So it will form CH2 over here. So what will be the structure of R then? So how it will look like? You have to simply remove this double bond O. Now let us look at in any option we are having like that or not. That means 3 carbon COH at the para position. So R is mentioned anywhere? No, actually, okay, another reaction is also there, S3PO4, then what will happen? Alright. So now let me draw after using the zinc HgHCl how it will look like. So the whole structure will be, I am drawing over here. This is our benzene. 3 carbons are attached over here. 5 membered ring at here. 2 carbon over here. And here it was CH2 and then again CH2 and then COOH. Now what is the role of this S3PO4? Because this is non-nucleophilic source of H plus ion. You look at this, after removal of H plus, the remaining particular conjugate base is not at all nucleophilic. So this will only add up H plus ion to this and removes and form a carbocation over here, which will re-attack on this benzene ring. Where will it attack? Obviously it will attack at this carbon. So once again after EAS, what you are going to get R will be basically this carbon will be attached here and another carbonyl you are going to get. So 1 carbon, 2 carbon, 3 double bond O and this. And here we were already having 3 group like this, and here we are having 5 membered ring with CS3 and CS3. So this is basically R. Let us match it. Are we getting anything like that? Means double bond O will be on this carbon. So here it is given like this, which is absolutely wrong, not possible, because double bond O is supposed to be over here. So this is wrong. Okay, we did not get R correct. Q we have already done. Anywhere Q structure is given? Yes. So they have given Q over here. Look at the whole structure is maintained. and then immediately double bond O. Yes, we have got this. You see, Q this one, and thereafter 2 carbon and COOH. Thereafter 2 carbon and COOH. So yes, we have got. So this B is anyway correct. Now we have to debate on the last portion, which is S. So what will be S? Now for S, this is R, right? Now the first thing what we are using CH3 MgBr, Grignard. So what it will do? This will attack on the true carbonyl center over here. It will make it alcohol. You have taken H plus also, so that will make it alcohol. And thereafter H2SO4 and heating you have done, that means that will, after becoming alcohol, it will simply dehydrate, that means it will develop a pi bond. So overall the final product will be here double bond and rest thing as usual. So rest thing as usual, and one CH3 will be there undoubtedly because CH3 was attacking, so CH3 will also be there and a double bond. So this D is correct, whereas if you look at this, there is a biggest mistake that it is attacking on the left side, which is wrong. So correct answer will be B and D for this one. Now let's move to the next question, which is question number 10. Now it is related to the coordination chemistry, and what it says, choose the correct statement among the following. This FeCl4 minus has a tetrahedral geometry, similarly for the other and other and other they are talking about. So let's go one by one. FeCl4 minus, what is the oxidation number of iron there? Iron is in +2 state, sorry, +3 state, you just calculate it. If you assume X, if you assume X, this will be X minus 4 is equal to -1, so you got X is equal to +3. So iron in +3 will be, iron in 0 state is D6S2, so +3 means it will be D5, 3D5, argon and then 3D5, 4S0. And now which type of complex is there? Coordination number 4. Coordination number 4, either it will be square planar or it will be tetrahedral. Which type of ligand we have here? Chloride ion, which is a poor ligand, weak field ligand. So it will be definitely then tetrahedral. So in case of tetrahedral, you already know the splitting arrangement and everything. So this is anyway correct. A is correct. Now moving to this molecule, they are saying that it have 2 geometrical isomer only. Now is it correct? So which type of complex is this? Octahedral complex. So how it will look like? How the octahedral complex will look like? So we already got the option A to be correct. How octahedral will look like? Octahedral complex will look like this, cobalt. And about ene we are having, right? One is ene. Ene means NH2 and then 2 carbon again NH2. So in between 2 carbon is there. Now another 2 ammonia is there and 2 chlorine. So in what way we can arrange them? Suppose if I am taking this ammonia over here at 180 degree, then 2 chlorine will be here. In other case, what I can do? I will take whole thing as it is. I will take here 2 chlorine at 180 and then ammonia and ammonia at 90 degree. Now the third case is also possible when we are having situation like this, that cobalt at the center and ammonia and Cl at 180 degree and another ammonia and another Cl. So this is also one of the possible geometrical isomers. So total isomer is basically 3, not 2. Geometrical I am talking about. So this is wrong anyway. Now moving to the option C, what it is saying. So we got already A is correct, B is wrong. FeCl4 minus has higher spin only magnetic moment than this molecule. So cobalt in +3, unless it is fluoride, which is very poor ligand. If it have ene, ammonia, this is supposed to be in under the influence of strong field. We will assume like that only. So cobalt in +3 is actually low spin complex. You can draw it also. So what is the configuration? Low spin octahedral splitting will be like this. What is the configuration here? Cobalt +3 means it will be D6. So 1, 2, 3 and then pairing you have to do. So total we are having 0 unpaired electron, so low spin complex. Whereas in case of iron, tetrahedral splitting used to be like this, that T2G center used to go up and this used to go down, and in case of that FeCl4 minus we were having D5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 we had. So you can see we are having 5 unpaired electron in that, whereas in the other case we are having 0. So it has higher spin magnetic moment, that is absolutely correct. Now let us look at the last option. The cobalt ion in this has sp3d2 hybridization, which is wrong, because it is forcing this, right, to pair up, and if it will force them to pair up, out of the 5, if you will talk about the hybridization, I am not talking about CFT anymore. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 2 orbital from the 3D is already available, and thereafter we are having 4s and 4p. So it will use its inner D, that means it will be D2 and sp3, not sp3d2. So it is again wrong. So correct answer will be A and C. That's all for this question. Now let's move to the question number 11. Now what does it say? With respect to hypochlorite, what is hypochlorite? OCl, where O minus is there, and chlorine, if you will calculate the oxidation number, it will be +1. Oxidation number of oxygen will be -2, whereas the charge is -1. This is hypochlorite ion, right? Chlorate, what is chlorate? So hypochlorite we have already seen. Chlorate, so let us look at the corresponding acid. This is hypochlorous acid. This is HClO2 is chlorous acid. Then HClO3 is chloric acid. Then HClO4 is perchloric acid. So the ion which is generated from here is chlorate. So it is talking about this one, which is having oxidation number +5. Now what are the things which is correct with respect to this? So hypochlorite ion is the strongest conjugate base, undoubtedly, because if you will talk about the corresponding acidic order, so this is how the acidic strength will increase, because oxidation number also increases and the number of terminal oxygen which will stabilize the conjugate base, that also increases. So this conjugate base is more stable, so this is more acidic. So this is more stable. Weaker, stable means weaker. Now it don't have the tendency to accept H plus ion back, whereas this is weakest acid, so corresponding base will be stronger. So the hypochlorite ion is strongest conjugate base is correct, absolutely. Now moving to the next option. So this was correct anyway. The molecular shape of only chlorate ion is influenced by the lone pair of the electron of chlorine. So if you draw the structure, look, any diatomic species, no matter how many lone pair any one of them have, any diatomic species is always what? Linear. So the linearity will not be affected by the number of lone pair, no matter whether it is having 2 or 3, it does not matter, it will always be linear. So here lone pair is there, but it is not affecting the structure around this chlorine. So the hypochlorite ion only is influenced by the lone pair of electron of chlorine. Now let us draw the structure of the other one, that means chlorate ion. So chlorate ion will be appearing like this. So what will be the shape of this molecule? So total number is 4, geometry will be what? Geometry will be tetrahedral, but by looking at one lone pair, if you do not look into it, it will appear like this. I have not shown the bonds in this case. So if you look at the atomic arrangement only, so this atomic arrangement is pyramidal. So this lone pair is affecting, if suppose there is no lone pair and some bond is there, like oxygen is there, in that case it will be tetrahedral. So this lone pair is making it pyramidal. So yes, it is affecting in case of chlorate ion. What about the perchlorate ion? Perchlorate ion means all of them will be oxygen, there is no lone pair on the chlorine, So anyway it is not affected. So yes, this is also correct. The molecular shape of only chlorate ion is influenced by the lone pair of the electron of chlorine. Now moving to the third option, the hypochlorite and the chlorate ion disproportionate to give rise to the identical set of ion. How it is possible? See, in case of hypochlorite we are having +1, whereas in case of chlorate we are having +5. So if you disproportionate this, means it will go to the lower state Cl minus, and higher state it usually goes, if you are heating it, it usually goes to chlorine +5 state, that means ClO3. Whereas just look at this, it will go to -1, but whenever it is undergoing oxidation, it will definitely be in oxidation state which is much higher than +5. So +5 के बाद कौन सा आता है आपका 6 भी आता है and 7 भी आता है. So out of 6 and 7 it can use any one of them. Most common is ClO4 minus. So disproportionate ion here chlorate perchlorate, whereas here we were getting in +5. So obviously they are not same. So hypochlorite gives and chlorate gives this identical set is not correct anyway. Now moving to the option D, hypochlorite ion oxidizes the sulfite ion. Yes, what is sulfite ion? It is written sulfite. So you remember sulfuric acid? You remember H2SO3? Sulfuric, sulfurous. So sulfurous will generate SO3 minus 2 and this will generate SO4 minus. So this is known as sulfate and this is sulfite. So yes, not only this, all the oxy acids of the chlorine are powerful oxidizing agent. They will all oxidize this. So yes, it will oxidize. So D is also correct. So correct answer will be A, B and D for this. Now let's look at the other question. Now here it is related to the solid state. What is given here? The cubic unit cell structure of a compound containing some cation M and anion X is shown here. When compared to anion, the cation has a smaller ionic radius, then choose the correct statements. Now if you try to extend this, because a cubical structure is very interesting, when you will try to extend this, you will if you will try to extend this, you will get a very interesting figure over here. Right, consider till here. Now look at this, here and here we will have this bigger part, means X, and down also we will have X, right. So don't you think if we take like this, don't you think that it is very similar to body centered cubic, where this central atom is at the center, body center of the cube. So it is very symmetrical to that. Even if you don't draw this, you will get the right answer, but I am showing you because you can extend and you can easily look at the correct answer. Like if you are looking in this way, you can tell many things. Like empirical formula of the compound is Mx. So body centered cubic arrangement, we are having the species at the corner, one species at the corner. So what will be the effectivity of that? 8 into 1 by 8, which will be 1. Similarly, 1 will be truly at the body center, other will also be 1. So obviously ratio will be 1:1, so answer will be Mx. Now if you don't want to solve from here also you will get the correct answer, because the M is at the face center contribution is half. How many such atoms are there? 2. So total will be M. So total will be 1. M is 1. Similarly X is present at the edges, right, edge center. So edge center contribution is 1 by 4. So 1 by 4 contribution, 4 were there, so total will be 1. So X is also 1. So anyway you are getting that. So formula will be Mx. Now the cation M and the anion X have the different coordination geometry, which is absolutely wrong. Because when you have 1:1 ratio for both of them, both the cation and anion has to have the same geometry around it. So this is wrong. Now the ratio of mx bond length to the cubic unit cell is 0.866. Now let us calculate it. What it is asking? So we have got already A correct and B wrong, right? This is wrong. Now the ratio of mx bond length to the cubic unit edge length. So mx length means, so I will show you like this. We are having m over here and x at the edge center. So can we make a direct can we take this direct distance? If you can't see through here, I mean the visualization will be little tough here. It doesn't mean that you can't do, you can even solve here also, right? But I will prefer the one in which we have taken that arrangement where one of the atom is at the center and remaining were at the corner. That was a better way of looking into it, that can be solved much quickly also. Right. So just a minute. Yeah. Now here at the corner one type of atom. So let us consider this bigger one, that means it is X, and at the body center we are having M. Now here you can get that particular option very quickly. From here to here, what will be this diagonal, because the body center will be touch along the body diagonal. Now what will be the whole length? If the edge length is A, what will be the length of body diagonal? That will be A root 3. And that will have the whole structure like this, that this atom is there in between and this atom is there. So what do you think from here to here? It will be basically 2 capital R plus 2 small r. So that is equal to 2 times of capital R plus 2 times of small r. Now what they are asking basically, the ratio of mx bond length. Mx bond length means length from here to here. This is the bond length, right? That means capital R plus small r. So that will come as A root 3 by 2. So that will be the length. Now A root 3 by 2. So the ratio of mx bond length to the cubic unit. So this is bond length. If you divide with the cubic length, that means A, you will get the ratio. So A will be cancelled out, the right answer will be root 3 by 2. So now what is root 3 by 2? You just solve it. 1.732 divided by 2. So it will be approximately 0.8 and then again 6 and then again 6. So of course this is coming out to be correct. Now when it comes to the last part, that means the ratio of the ionic radii of the cation M to the anion X is 0.414. Now this is very interesting, because this particular thing you can figure out only and only if it is mentioned in the question that this is an ideal crystal, which means that whatever the smaller portion is there, that is exactly fitting in the void. Anyway, if the disturbance will be there, we will not get the correct thing. So because they did not mention whether it is completely ideal structure, we cannot take this particular option to be true, right? So this is wrong. So correct answer will be what? A and C. So let's look at the next question. Fine. So let us look at the question number 13. What it says, that 5 ml of 0.1 molar oxalic acid. You know what is oxalic acid? COOH and COOH, right? So it is having basically 2H plus ion into it. Was taken in a conical flask and is titrated against NaOH. So basically it is titrated by NaOH by using phenolphthalein as indicator. So I will write phenolphthalein as PHH. Now NaOH is present here, and what is written, that these are the observation that is taken, right. So experiment number 1 12.5 for the complete titration, 2 is 10.5, and 3 4 5 is 999. So in chemistry, we will, whenever in laboratory we are doing, we used to take something which is identical, we don't take average. So the correct combination will be 999. So what will be our volume consideration for NaOH? Volume of NaOH we have to consider 9. Please understand, we are not taking average, we are taking just the 9 value, which is recurringly repeated, right? That value we used to take. But in physics, you know, we used to take average. But in chemistry, whenever we are doing some volumetric analysis, we used to take the one which is repeating its value. So that is 9. So 9 ml of NaOH is used for the complete titration. Now how to use? Very simple. Reaction of H2C2O4 plus NaOH, it will react with 2 mole of NaOH and it will form the product like Na2C2O4 and plus 2 molecules of water. Now what is the question? In the question they have mentioned that 5 ml of 0.1 molar. So 5 ml into 0.1 molar, so into 0.1. Now if you will do it, you will get basically 5 into 0.5 millimole. Millimole means 10 to the power minus 3. So how much we got? 0.5 millimole. So how much NaOH should be? So if it is X, it has to be 2X, and the value of X is how much? 0.5 millimole. How much will be NaOH? It will be then number of mole of NaOH will be how much? 2X. 2X means 2 into 0.5, and that is equal to 1 millimole. And 1 millimole means how much? 10 to the power minus 3 mole. Right. Now mole is known to us, volume is also known to us. Can't we figure out the molarity? So number of mole is equal to molarity into volume. What is mole? 10 to the power minus 3. How much molarity is there? That we don't know. How much volume is there? That is 9 ml. That means 9 into 10 to the power minus 3. So this and this will be cancelled out. Molarity we will get 1 by 9. Now you simply calculate it. So 0.1 keep going on, but we have to report till double digit of the decimal. So correct answer will be 0.11. This will be the right answer. So moving to the next question, question number 14, and this is again the physical chemistry question, which is taken from the chemical equilibrium portion. Now what is given here? Consider the following reaction A to B, which is taken at 1000 degree, and the same reaction is repeated at 2000 degree also, and it was allowed to reach the equilibrium. Throughout this, what they are saying, that the A is always kept at fixed pressure, that means 1 bar, it is always kept fixed. Now coming to B, given below the plot of B at different temperature, right? Now what they are asking, what is the standard Gibbs energy of the reaction at 1000 to that of 2000. Now how to calculate is very simple. First you calculate the equilibrium constant 1 at 1000 degree centigrade, and then you calculate the same thing at 2000 degree centigrade. Once you know this, very simple, delta G naught 1 upon delta G naught 2 will be equal to minus 2.303 R into T log to the base 10 equilibrium constant, that is Kc 1 here, temperature 1, and the same thing will be repeated, R into T2 log of Kc2. Now how to figure out Kc? So Kc or Kp here, because they have given in terms of pressure, we will be focusing on the Kp. Now so we can take the Kp portion over here also. So Kp1 and Kp2. Now how to calculate this? Very simple, everything will be cancelled out. simply T1 into log K1, T2 upon log K2. Now how to get this? So in the first case you see at the temperature when it was till 1000, right, till 1000, I mean up to time t, the pressure of the B was found to be 10. So if it is 10, the Kp value is basically the partial pressure of the product to the reactant, that means Kp will be 10. Now after T time you see the pressure of the B, that is 100. So B 100 means what? How much the value of the Kp at the second case will be? 100 divided by 1. So we have received the answer now. You substitute the temperature. So let us calculate here. So in the first case temperature was 1000, multiply by log of Kp, that was 10. In the second case how much the temperature was? 2000, multiply by log of, that was coming out to be 100, that means 10 to the power 2. So this will give us 1 by 2, and log 10 is 1, and log 10 to the power 2 is 2, again 1 by 2. So 1 by 2 is 1 by 4, that is 0.25. So correct answer for this will be 0.25. So that's all for this question. Let's look at the other question. So let's look at the question number 15 once. So what it is asking, that consider a 70% efficient hydrogen oxygen fuel cell working under standard condition at 1 bar and 298 Kelvin. Its cell reaction is given to you. Now what it is asking, the work derived from this particular cell by consumption of just these many moles, 10 to the power minus 3 moles of hydrogen, is used to compress 1 mole of monoatomic ideal gas in thermally insulated container. Now the first thing that you need to understand is how much work will be done to compress this 1 mole of monoatomic ideal gas which is thermally insulated. Insulation means basically dq is 0 for that particular process. It is adiabatic compression, so the thing that it is going to follow is PV to the power gamma is equal to constant. Now if you will calculate the amount of work done that will be done on the system, so that will come as simply, if you integrate it PV to the power, if you simply integrate P into dV minus time work done on the system minus time of that, you will finally get the value P2 V2 minus P1 V1 and whole divided by gamma minus 1, and this you can replace with simply NR delta T upon gamma minus 1. So this amount of, this much amount of, where number of mole is already given, this much amount of energy will be required to compress it. Now from where we are getting this energy? We are getting through this particular fuel cell. So how much energy that we will get from this fuel cell, that will be utilized to compress, that will be utilized to do the work, that you know is given by minus time of delta G. This is maximum possible energy that can be utilized for doing work, and that will be equal to what? Minus NFE naught. Now if you will calculate it, what is N? N means number of electron which is transferred in this case. So here it is 0, here it is plus 1. So total energy which is transferred is, total number of electron which is transferred is 2 per mole. So it is this much energy will be transferred if 1 mole of hydrogen is given to you. But how many mole of hydrogen is consumed? That is 1 into 10 to the power minus 3. At the same time, what is the efficiency? 70%. So how much total work, how much possible energy that we will get that can be utilized for doing work is this value for 1 mole multiply by 10 to the power minus 3, and because the efficiency is just 0.7, this much. Now what you have to do? You have to simply equate this whole thing with this NR delta T upon gamma minus 1. And what is the value of gamma for monoatomic gas? What is the value of gamma for monoatomic gas? Cp by Cv if you will calculate. So Cv is how much? 3 by 2R, and Cp will be 5 by 2, so that will come as 5 by 3. You use this value over here, number of mole of the gas is 1 already given to you. You are going to get delta T as 13.32 as the final answer. So now let's move to the next question, that is question number 16. Now here what is given to you, that aluminium reacts with sulfuric acid. How it will react? This is the balanced reaction given to you. Now what are the quantities that is given to you here? That 5.4 gram, if you just look here, that 5.4 gram of aluminum is used here. At the same time, this much amount of H2SO4. Now if you will calculate the mole weight by molar weight of aluminum, it will be simply 0.2. Similarly, for H2SO4, just multiply molarity with volume, you will get 0.25 as the mole. Now if the mole of both of these species is given to you, first you identify which is limiting reagent, and for that what you need to do, you simply divide with the stoichiometric coefficient. Whichever the value is lowest, that will tell us the limiting reagent. Now 0.2 by 2 will be how much? 0.1 for this. Whereas for this one, if you will calculate 0.25 divided by how much? How much it is? Just balance this. Here it is 3H2SO4. So 0.25 whole divided by 3, if you will do, this will be much less than this value. So obviously, which is the limiting reagent then? H2SO4 is the limiting reagent. And if it is the limiting reagent, everything will be decided by H2SO4 only. So how much amount of hydrogen you are going to get? So look at the stoichiometry, it is same. 3 mole will give 3 mole. So whatever the mole of H2SO4 will be there, that will give us the same mole of hydrogen. So this will be equal to number of mole of hydrogen as well. Now what you have to figure out? You have to figure out how much volume of the hydrogen is produced if the temperature is this and pressure is this. Now it is very simple. You apply simply PV is equal to nRT. Volume you have to figure out. Mole you already calculated from here. Substitute it. R you know, value is already given 0.0821, and then temperature is also given. If you calculate, you will get 6.15 liter. Okay. So now that's it at question number 16. Let's look at the question number 17. So here we have one reaction, a nuclear reaction basically, that uranium 238 is converting into lead 206, and definitely certain amount of alpha. Alpha you already know, alpha means helium plus 2. So alpha atomic number will be 2 and this will be mass number will be 4 plus beta. So beta it will be -1 and here it will be 0. So how many particles of alpha we are going to get? Simply take the difference of this. How much you will get? 238 minus 206. You will get 232, and the difference of mass will be because of this alpha only. So divide with the 4, you will get 8. So 8 alpha particle you will get per particle of or per atom of the uranium decomposition. And similarly you can calculate beta. I am not interested with, because they are asking only about alpha. Now initially how much they took? A rock initially contained 68 into 10 to the power minus 6 grams. So 68 into 10 to the power minus 6 gram is this, and divided by the atomic mass of this 238, that will give you the mole, and mole means simply multiply with 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. So basically this value is our N0, initial value of uranium. Now they are talking about if the number of alpha particles that it would emit during its radioactive decay in 3 half-life is this much. 3 half-life means what? Suppose if the concentration is N0, then after T half, you know, it follows the first order kinetics, then N0 it will become N0 by 2. I am talking about uranium. Then again after second half-life, it will become further N0 by 2, and again 2, that means it will be 4, and again after third it will be basically N0 by 8. So how much it will remain? It will remain as N0 by 8. N0 by 8 will remain. Now means how much actually it has decomposed? So N0 minus N0 by 8 means 7 N0 by 8 is actually decomposed. Now just look at, one gives 8 alpha. So these many will give multiply by 8. So just multiply with 8, you will get the number of alpha. So number of alpha, how much we got? 7 times of this value N0. Can you use this value? and not, can you just multiply with this whole figure? And if you will multiply, you will get the right answer for this, and that is you will get as 1.2 into 10 to the power 18. That you will get as 1.2 into 10 to the power plus 18. So they are asking basically what will be the value of z. So that will come as 1.20. So that's it for question number 17. Let's move to the question number 18 part. So now in the following reaction, the compound Q is obtained from the P via an ionic intermediate. Now just look at this. We have H2SO4. We have this molecule at the beginning, and now it is forming A, which is colored compound, which tells us that the conjugation is extended anyway. So now how it will react with that? So here we have this molecule. I will draw the whole part of phenyl as phi, this side also phi, and this side also phi, and at the top I will be drawing O, OET. Now what will happen if you will take H2SO4? So H2SO4, the H plus ion will take out, by protonating it, it will take out this, because there is a backup, it can stabilize the carbocation. So we will get basically this carbocation at the center, and here we have benzene also, and this side also we have phi, and this side also we have phi. This is basically a carbocation generated. Now this is stabilized anyway by this lone pair, but now this carbocation, it will act as an electrophile and it will attack at the ortho position of this. So what will be the final product? You just attack it and simply joins them together. I mean, through EAS, the final product that you are going to get will be this. I am directly doing that. I hope you are understanding this. And here we have another benzene. Here we have another benzene. So what is the total degree of unsaturation? Now per benzene ring, how much degree of unsaturation we have? 3 pi plus 1 ring. That means total 4 per benzene ring. 4 from here, 4 from here, 4 from here, and 4 for here, 4 from here. Total is 16, and 1 because of this ring and 1 because of this pi. That means plus 2. So what will be the final answer? That will be 18. So that's it for the whole paper discussion of the chemistry. I hope you understood it. Thank you so much.